Beautiful. We are live for this live class on, beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Greetings, everyone, and welcome. When you do join in, please just let me know whether you're able to hear me. Just a sound check. Greetings, everyone. Hello. And as you join in, please say hello to me and let me know from where in the world you're joining this class. Awesome. Beautiful. It's so good to see y'all. It's been a while since we have done a live class here. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm glad our sound is perfect. Hello, greetings. Hi, beautiful humans. It's such a joy and a pleasure and a privilege to be convening with you all here on this Wednesday evening to explore what is rather could be considered a sensitive topic or one that is rarely spoken about in our society, all right? So today we're going to be exploring and unpacking the theme of spiritual healing after a miscarriage or an abortion. And as I had shared on a post, just introducing this mini-series, we're going to be doing a mini-series of live classes, four live classes, exploring various themes of psychospiritual healing. And so this today's class is the first one of those four. And so I invite you to also just mark your calendars for the next coming classes, right? We're going to be having one class per week on every Wednesday afternoon at 5 p.m. Central African time, right? Awesome. So for those who are meeting me for the first time, my name is Tumelo Moreri and I am a spiritual healer with a special focus on womb healing and womb medicine. And as you will see, this work, the work that we're going to be exploring today of just healing for your mind, body, soul after a miscarriage or an abortion is work that also relates to the womb and to also other aspects of your life as we're going to be unpacking it today. So it's an absolute joy. Like this class also marks the return of the Tumelo Moreri podcast. We're going to be stepping into season 3 of that podcast. So I'm also deeply excited for that. Yeah. So it's great to see everybody joining in, and we're going to dive into our work for today, right? And essentially how our class will unfold, right? I am going to offer you what I have to share today, and you're welcome to ask any questions that you might have. Well, any thoughts, if anything comes up for you, if anything is inspired, you're welcome to share in the comment section, right? And if you might also have a question, you're also welcome to pop in a question, either in the question, like there's a question bubble there, so that I may be aware that it is a question, all right? Awesome. So we're going to be here for about an hour. So get comfortable, and if possible, also invite any of your loved ones who you know might benefit from this teaching, right? Awesome. So yes, spiritual healing after a miscarriage or an abortion, right? This is one of the taboo topics within our society, matters of the termination of pregnancies and what should happen after that. are usually matters that are not openly discussed, right? Or that are discussed in hushed tones, yeah? And so what I'd also like to highlight in this class is that so in cases where these are spoken about, they're usually spoken about relating to women, right? And what I'd also like to invite us to consider is that these events, these matters also affect men, right? And we're going to be unpacking how that is the case, right? So in facilitating spiritual healing for one who has experienced or encountered a miscarriage or an abortion, we want to focus on 4 areas of healing, right? So the reason why we're even speaking about healing, right, for a miscarriage or an abortion is because such events in your life as a human and in the life of your body and in the life of your soul are a huge shock and a big trauma for your body, for your psyche, for your spirit, for your soul, right? And so as a result of this being a big shock and a big trauma, which is something that I guess a lot of us might not be aware of, right? Because in many corners of our society, really, abortions and miscarriages happen, and then many of us might want to just carry on with life as though nothing happened, right? However, the truth of the matter is something has definitely happened, and that has left a huge imprint in your life at all levels, right? Mind, body, soul, spirit, right? And so when we are wanting to live lives in a holistic manner, in ways that are reconstituted, are reconciled, are integrated, are one, we want to facilitate that healing for ourselves, right? And this also becomes necessary if you might be wanting to conceive in future, right? So we want to clear that birthing space, right? Both as a woman and as a man, right? To create a very fertile and conducive environment for life to form and to be sustained within your body, within your energetic space as a human being, all right? Perfect. So we're going to be exploring four I would say layers, 4 layers of healing, or 4 forms of healing within the bigger spectrum of spiritual healing that are necessary if you have experienced a miscarriage or an abortion in your life, right? So we're going to be exploring the emotional healing that is necessary. We're also going to be exploring the psychological healing, the spiritual healing, and the physical or energetic healing that is necessary, right? So for those of you who come from like traditional or indigenous traditions, right? Especially here, like in our Setswana culture, you might be aware of like processes, cleansing processes that were in the past, like done for women who had either, who had lost like a baby in utero, right? So those physical cleansings were part of the healing process, right? And they're part of what I have categorized here as the physical or the energetic element of the healing that is required or that is necessary, right? So there is more that we are called into if we're wanting to bring about like a very holistic and like complete healing for your person, for your mind, for your body, right? So let's start with the emotional healing that is necessary and why it is necessary, right? And we're going to be moving between so we have 2 themes, the miscarriage and the abortion. We're going to be moving between the 2. And we're also going to be working with cases where these have been encountered by a woman and when they have also been encountered by a man, right? Because both individuals are affected, right? And so the reason why both individuals are affected is that at a spiritual level, when a baby is conceived, right? When a baby is conceived, there occurs what is called a sacred contract between the souls of the two parents and the soul of the child, right? And so as a mother, you enter into a sacred contract with your partner to have a child together, to bring a soul into life together. And as a mother, you also enter into a sacred contract with the soul of the child, right? You choose them as your child and they choose you as your mother, right? And as a father, quite equally, you enter into a sacred contract with the soul of the child that you will become their father and they will become your child, right? So should anything happen, right, it will affect you, right? Whether you are the body that is carrying the baby or not. Great? Yeah. So in terms of emotional healing, and in the case of a miscarriage, right? So this will also depend on how this event takes place, right? Each individual, so like just from the work I've been doing with clients, each individual will have a very unique case, right? And this is expected because as different individuals leading different lives, we have very unique paths, of our lives. And so we might have had a similar experience, but it might have occurred in a very unique way of its own, right? So depending on how this miscarriage might have occurred, might have happened, you might be sitting with very dense emotions around that experience and around that event, all right? Emotions could range from grief, because this is a loss, right? So what we're also invited to understand is that even though it hasn't yet become like a child you can hold, even though it's still a baby in utero, you have connected with that soul, you have connected with the soul of that child, right? And so when that termination, whether voluntary or involuntary, happens, it is registered by the psyche as a loss, just as you might lose a child who has already been born, right? So you might be sitting with emotions of loss, of grief, grieving that loss, of heartbreak, of sadness. You might also possibly be sitting with emotions of self-blame, feeling that it might be your fault that this miscarriage happened, or also emotions of disappointment, right? As both partners, you might have been like really yearning to become parents, to have this child. And so when this pregnancy loss happens, it can bring about all sorts of emotions, right? Now, given the society that we live in, right? One, we haven't necessarily been taught how to fully feel and move through our emotions. And so what we're finding is that a lot of people, a lot of us are sitting with emotions held within our bodies, right? So whenever you move through an experience and it brings up emotions, and if you're not able to find space to fully express, to move through, to feel those emotions, like they don't go anywhere. They will find pockets, they will find spaces within your body to sit, all right? And so that's another thing for us that we're invited to learn, right? The fact of emotions that are not expressed, they end up sitting within our bodies, right? It could be a grief or a heartbreak that is sitting within your heart space. It could be a sadness that is clouding, that is hovering around you. Even that grief, if it's a heavy grief, it can hover around you in your energetic aura, in your energetic space, right? Like just that dead energy that has not been moved, that has not been transmuted, can just sit around you, right? In Setswana, we have a term for it, like just that dense energy. We call it sififi, right? It's just the shadowy energy. It's dead energy, dense energy that is not life-giving. And so that would need to be cleansed for us to get it off, your energetic body. All right. So that also ties in with the physical or the energetic healing that we would want to do. Because like this cleansing of whatever energy is hovering around you, ideally I would recommend that you also incorporate a physical cleansing of your body. All right. Yes, just to cleanse some of these emotions that are hovering around you and whatever energy that might be, hooked to your body and your energetic body as a result of this experience, right? So if you have words for it in your language, please let me know what sififi is called, right? I only know it in Setswana and just English, that it's just dead matter, dead energy that is hovering around you, right? So the reason why we need to do this emotional healing is to hold space for you to feel and then to release these emotions, right? To release them from wherever they might be held within your body and to diffuse that charge, right? So if you might be sitting with a deep heartbreak or a deep grief in your heart space, one, we can't release it without feeling it, right? So we want to hold space for you to fully feel that grief, to move through it in a safe space, and then to release it out of your body and out of your energetic being, right? And what we're also wanting to do is to release the hold that those emotions have on your life, right? Because if you're sitting with this sadness, with this grief, with this disappointment, with this guilt or self-blame, it definitely impacts how you show up in your life. It definitely impacts how you're going to go about creating your life, right? It can seep into the various experiences and whatever it is that you're trying to do with your life. So we want to diffuse the charge of those emotions and also remove the hold that they have in your life, right? So it's quite unfortunate that in our upbringing, in our world, like we don't really get like solid education around emotions and just the impact or just the deep influence that they have in our lives. So that emotional healing is really critical and pivotal in your healing process, right? And so what we also want to do or facilitate is an inner reconciliation process, right? So if there might be any feelings or emotions of guilt or of self-blame, we want to hold space for you to come into an inner reconciliation and a self-forgiveness process, right? And to release whatever emotions of guilt, of self-blame, of regret also that you might be holding within your body. Yeah? Awesome. Let me know if you might have any questions, right? And I'll speak to those towards the end. And so in the case of an abortion, which is a voluntary pregnancy termination, there might be emotions such as shame, such as feeling like you are a bad person, you have done something really, really bad, which might give rise to feelings of guilt, or of regret, or you could also be sitting with like emotions of fear or of loneliness that might have come up in the moment of the event, right? That you'd also need to move through and to release from your body and from your life, right? So like it's normal to also feel like sadness or a grief that you might have to move through, even in cases where it could have been or might have been a voluntary termination, right? And in the case of an abortion as well, there might be the necessity to hold space for you to move through a process of self-forgiveness, right? Of just communing, of engaging with the younger version of yourself that made the decision, that moved through the experience, right? To look at the ways that it might have impacted her, right? This younger version of you, and to help her find the healing that that she needs, right? Or that he needs, in the case that it is you and man who is immersing yourself in a healing process, right? And so what I also do in my healing work, so I primarily work with the true living source God and the Christ consciousness, right? So we also want to invite in spirit, we also want to invite in your spiritual support team to help facilitate healing for you, for your body, for your womb, for your spirit, for your soul, all right? So given your own spiritual beliefs or your set of beliefs, right, we want to call in your spiritual support team to hold space for you and to also help facilitate healing for you, yeah? Awesome. And so the other aspect of healing that we'd want to move through is psychological healing, right? Or psycho-spiritual healing, where we would want to explore, just look at like the beliefs that you might have formed in the moment of that event. It could be the beliefs, the set of stories or vows that you might have made in that moment about your life, or just essentially what meaning you might have drawn about this experience in your life, right? It could be just as an example, right? So in the moment of the event of a miscarriage, there might be stories coming up around how something might be wrong with your body, how maybe something might be broken within your body, which can also impact your own beliefs around your fertility as a woman, right? So there is the possibility there for stories that are not necessarily empowering to be formed, about, your fertility, about something being wrong with your body, about how God has punished you, right? Which then extends to, our conceptions and our beliefs around God, right? Or the divine or divinity, which speaks to like the God wound or the divinity wound, which we would also want to look at, right? To see as a woman or as a man who has experienced as a miscarriage, what stories, what meaning are you attaching to this experience, and how is it informing your life, right? And then we want to rewire those stories, those beliefs, those vows to form more empowering beliefs, right? That are life-giving and that are life-affirming, yeah? And there might also be stories or beliefs that might come up relating to partners, right? If it's maybe in the case of a miscarriage that maybe your partner is going to leave you, that all future partners are going to leave you, right? So we want to dial in on those beliefs that are being formed, those stories that are being formed, such that we can begin to shift them and form beliefs or stories that are really empowering and that can help you build the life that you desire, that can help you arrive at what you desire for your life, right? Yes, and also like in the case of an abortion, there will be psychological healing needed as well, equally relating to the meaning that you will attach to that event. Could be that, oh my God or my ancestors are going to punish me, or stories around how you're going to struggle to conceive in future, that you might have cursed yourself, that this is why your life is not going well right now, right? Or that you might end up alone, that nobody might want you, nobody might desire you. If you were to tell future partners about what you have encountered, that nobody might want to stay with you. So those are elements that we also want to investigate, to look at, so that we can facilitate a rewiring and a birthing of an empowering meaning, right? First, to dissolve, to transmute those wounded beliefs or the wounded stories that you would have formed, right? And then to begin to create stories, beliefs that are empowering and will help you to arrive at the outcome of your life that you desire, right? So for many women, for many men, the desire might also be to conceive in future, right? And so this also makes this healing quite necessary, right? Such that we facilitate a clearing, a healing, to create a very nourishing and clear and pure space for the conception of a baby in future, right? So this conversation also comes in when we're talking about women who might be struggling to conceive, So we would want to look at whether a miscarriage or an abortion might have happened at any point of your life, right? And to begin to do the inner healing work and the outer work, right, to remedy that. Yeah. And so there's also the possibility here, in the case of an involuntary pregnancy loss, a miscarriage, where this could result in you as a woman not trusting your body, right? Essentially having fears or a lack of trust around whether your body can hold and sustain life in the future, right? So that is an element that we'd also want to look at, deeply interrogated, and facilitate healing for that, right? Such that you can arrive at a point where all of the aspects of your being, right, are in unison and are in agreement about the possibility to conceive life and the possibility to sustain that life within you, right? So would also really want to heal the relationship that you have with your body post this experience, post this event, right? To look at how it has impacted just your level of trust, and just how you feel about your body, right? Whether you trust your body to hold this child, right? Whether you trust yourself, right? And so part of the work that we would need to do is helping you to arrive at a point where you trust yourself, you trust your body, to be able to hold and sustain this life within you. Yeah? Awesome. We have quite a quiet room. I don't know if it's because, it's one of those taboo topics, but please, your questions are very, very, very welcome, right? So the other layer or the other aspect of the spiritual healing work is, quite specifically the spiritual element of it, right? And this flows from what I shared earlier around the sacred contract that happens between mother-child, father-child, mother and father, right? And so also what we need to understand about the termination of a pregnancy, whether voluntary or involuntary, right, is that, but maybe before that, let's just explore what happens when conception takes place, right? So let's imagine that there is a place, we could imagine a very tall building with 12 floors, right? There is a place within this building which is the home of the souls, the spiritual realms, where spirits or the souls of human beings live, right? Before they incarnate in human form, right? Let's imagine that they are on the 12th floor, right? So when a mother and a father come together, right, and when a mother and a father come together and they decide that they want to conceive, or just that if that conception takes place, right, there will be a sacred contract that is almost sent to the 12th floor to say, hey, there's an invitation for you to come to the 3rd floor, which is where we're at, right? And so should a termination take place, right, it means that that soul was already en route to the 3rd floor, right? And maybe it's on the 5th floor or the 4th floor, right? On the 4th floor. And so should a termination take place, it means that it leaves that the soul of that child hanging within that floor, right? Not necessarily on the 3rd floor where we're at, and not even at the 12th floor, where the spirits or the souls of human beings live before they incarnate on earth, right? And so what this means is that when a termination takes place, it means that there is an interruption in the journey of that soul, right? When a termination happens, it leaves that soul hanging, like in that 4th floor, for example, right? And so part of the work that we need to do is to facilitate a process for you to commune, to dialogue, either in prayer, to commune, to dialogue with the spirit of this child, right? And to also pray for the spirit of this child to find rest, to return to the womb of creation, to return to the place where the spirits and the souls live, right? So that they can find rest, such that they can find peace and are not hanging restlessly in this 4th floor as an example, right? Yes, so we have a question here from Just Rest Fam. How would you know if you haven't healed from a loss even after rainbow baby came soon after? Okay, that's a great question. So one, we would know you haven't healed if, no healing whatsoever has happened after this experience, right? So as I mentioned earlier, in a lot of our indigenous communities and traditions, there were usually physical cleansings that were done for women, right? And these were in part to cleanse whatever emotional debris or whatever energetic debris might still be hanging around you, right? So rainbow baby could come even if no healing has happened, right? So an abortion or a miscarriage does not necessarily mean that future conception will not be possible, right? But if the emotions around the loss have not really been, like, if you haven't had a chance to move through the emotions of the loss, it would mean that healing hasn't quite yet happened or hasn't happened fully, right? So there might have been an opportunity to grieve, right? But we'd also want to look at, what else might still be sitting in your body, right? Emotionally, what else might still be sitting within your psyche, within your mental body, psychologically, right? And also, as I've just mentioned, like, there is this reconciliation process that is needed for the spirit of the child, right? To facilitate a return for them to the womb of creation, right? So if rainbow baby comes, like, this is absolutely beautiful and we celebrate that, right? However, there's still a necessity to lay the soul of that child who was lost to rest, right? So that they may find peace, so that they may rest, yeah? And yeah, there are other aspects here that we'll also speak to, right? In terms of, like, just other healing processes that might be needed. But yeah, a big one there is the emotional healing, the psychological healing, right? And like just the energetic and physical healing as well, you know, in case there might still be like energetic debris that are hanging within your energetic field that need to be cleansed, that need to be cleared, right? Yeah. Awesome. So we had been speaking about like just the spiritual element, right, of the healing that is required. So in the case of a physical cleansing, right, this allows you the opportunity to also have a guide who will intercede for you, you know, with the spirit of this child, so that you may engage in dialogue, you may engage in prayer with the spirit of this child, and ask them, you know, engage in dialogue with them. If there's need for you to ask for forgiveness, you know, to ask for forgiveness. If there's really anything that you needed to say to this child, to express it and to express it fully, right? I know that, yeah, we also come from many societal communities where maybe there might have not been this education, right? That in the case where you yourself, as the living being who is left behind, if you haven't found peace, there is the opportunity to commune with the spirit of the one that you have lost, right? To ask for forgiveness. I think usually in many cases there is usually that need or that desire to ask for forgiveness, or to explain what might have happened that might have led to that decision or to that choice, and also really to just to release them, to let them go, to ask them to go and rest, right? And if they desire to find or accept another opportunity through which they may incarnate again in physical form, right? So this really helps to lay the spirit and the soul of that child to rest. I think this is a very critical, although all these aspects are very important, but this is, if none are done, like this is a key one that needs to be done. Because for a lot of us who might experience like pregnancy loss, the spirit of the children usually just remain hanging somewhere and are never really held space for them to find rest, for them to return to the womb of creation. So that is very, very, very important, right? For them to find rest, for you also to find some peace, right? Knowing that your baby is resting, right? Yeah. And also on your part, there can also be an opportunity for you to either forgive yourself or to forgive whoever else you might need to forgive, right? That is part of the emotional healing work and also the spiritual healing work, right? Where that forgiveness process, where that reconciliation process can happen at a soul level, right? It could be forgiveness of your partner, forgiveness of maybe family members who were not there for you, who you would have desired for them to be there for you, or just forgiveness of the situation having happened as it has, right? This can bring about tremendous healing, right? Yeah. So I emphasize this again, that this is for both men and women, right? Because as a man, this affects you too. You too conceived a child. And so you too have encountered a loss, right? There might be emotions of grief. There might be feelings of disappointment, of a loss that you too need to move through, right? And so also part of the physical cleansing that we want to do is a cleansing and a letting go of any energy that, might be hovering or that might be, I don't know how to say that in English. Yeah, it's essentially just hovering around you. It could be the energy of that child, the energy of those children that we want to lay to rest, right? Such that we can lighten the load of your energetic space and also the load of the energy of your life, right? And also important within the spiritual healing aspect is to ask the true living source God and your spiritual support team to facilitate healing for your body, to facilitate healing for your womb, to facilitate healing for your spirit, right? And to also help the spirit of that child to find rest, to go rest in peace, right? And yeah, to clear the energy that might also be hanging around you. So I think I'm emphasizing this a lot because it's very, very important, right? And another thing that we would want to check, would want to check if there might be a pattern in your lineage of miscarriages or abortions, right? Usually, often, when something happens to you in your life, you are rarely the first one to experience that. It is possible to be the first one, but in most cases, you might find that other women in your life might have had similar experiences, right? So if this is like a generational pattern, we also want to clear the energy of, this generational imprint, of this generational trauma, right? We can do this energetically, and we can also do it in a physical cleansing, right? Yeah. We're also speaking about physical cleansing because this is something that I've recently added to my healing offers, right? So if you have encountered any one of these experiences, whether as a man or a woman, and you're desiring healing, right, please know that I do offer physical cleansings if you are in Mulepolole or surrounding areas, right? You can book a healing session, and I'll hold space for you, as you do that physical cleansing, which will also include like an inner reconciliation with yourself and also with the spirit of your child, right? Awesome. And lastly, the last aspect is, just what I had been speaking about, which is the physical or the energetic part of the healing, right? Which will include a physical cleanse, right? To clear the debris of the event in your life. Because as contrary to popular awareness, right? It is a big event in your life, right? Both as a woman and as a man. It is registered by your body, by your psyche, by your spirit as a huge shock and a huge trauma, right? Which requires healing. And so this physical cleanse will be done with herbal medicine, right? Yes, just to clear, we can also be clearing the grief, the sadness, the pain, the regret, the shame, right? Any emotion really that might still be hanging over you or that you might still be holding within your body. We want to be clearing the dead energy, right? That might be hanging around you, that might be hanging in your life, right? To really open the way for your life, right? Right? To lighten the weight, to lighten the load of your life so that you can begin to create the things that you want to create, right? And with this physical cleanse, we want to also be cleansing whatever patterns might be active within your lineage, right? That are related to your experience. And additional to that physical cleanse, we can also do an internal cleanse of your womb, right, with herbal medicine. This is something that I also offer, right, just to bring about like a healing for your womb internally, to soothe whatever pain that your womb might have sustained in this traumatic event, and to reconstitute her body, to integrate, to heal the inner body of your womb, right? Such that she may be in a space to hold life, right? Either human life or the life of your projects, the life of your ideas, the life of businesses that you want to give birth to, etc. right? Because your womb space or your creation space is not only for human babies, right? So whatever it is that you encounter within your womb space or your creation space, it informs your capacity to create across all of your life, right? It could be in the form of ideas, just your life in general, your projects, your businesses, etc. Right? And so we want to bring about healing for your womb, right? And also activate the inner medicine of your womb such that that inner medicine may begin to heal your body, to heal your life, to nourish your life, and to fertilize whatever creative projects and endeavors you might be engaged in, right? Awesome. That is about it for our session today, or for our class today. Let me know if you might have any questions. Just rest, fam. I hope your question was answered, right? And if maybe it was not possible for you to ask here, please feel free to, you can drop me your questions in the DM, or you can also, the DM is probably the easiest. I was also going to offer my email if you might want to write me. If that's something that you might want to do as well, you can drop me an email at hello@tumelomareri.com. Yes. That is about it. Let's just see if that might. Okay, beautiful. And please let me know if there might be any takeaways for you. What are you walking away with? Were there any insights for you in today's class? Okay. All right. So just in closing, so I have added to my offers healing sessions for you who might want to heal, specifically pertaining to a miscarriage or an abortion, right? So these sessions can either be done online or in person for you who are able to come meet me in person, right? So for you who would be able to attend a physical session, you have the opportunity to do a physical cleansing, right? And also to begin on a regimen of herbal medicine that will help cleanse your womb, right? So if this is something that you want to explore, you can go to the link in my bio and explore. There's a tab there that says book a 2-hour private healing session. Just go explore that, explore the investment amount and what that will entail. And I'll hear from you then. Okay, everyone, it's been such a joy to see you all and to share all of this with you. Enjoy your evening until, next week. So our next class is going to be next week on Wednesday. So until then, bye.